This looks like a job for...
Look out! It's not a bird.
So if you decide to do a timing chain on one of these little 2.2 or 2.4 liter Ecotechs, it's really not that bad. You got to pull the timing cover. Haynes manual's pretty much got it step by step. I'd recommend using a manual. And this is what you got. Here's your timing chain. This piece here is a newer upgraded piece, which is good. It's got this extra clasp here, whatever you want to call it, that helps hold this plastic on. On the older ones, these were breaking off and then they cause havoc in there with the timing chain, skipping teeth and whatnot. So this is the new improved version, which is good. And you'll take your valve cover off, take your spark plugs out so you can turn the engine easy. This is your wiring harness, and you're going to take your motor mounts off, which sits right here. Take out your coolant, your windshield washer reservoir, and it's all pretty much common hand tools, 13 millimeter, 10 millimeter, 15 I think. These are a little larger. Let me show you what things look like down on the business end, because you will have to take off the tire here to get to the side of the engine. There we go. So this is your CV axle. While you're down here, take a look at those. Make sure those aren't ripped. If they're ripped, you need to think about replacing them, which is pretty easy. Now here's your chain. There's two chains on these things. One is a timing chain, one is your water pump and counterbalance shaft. That is this one, and they're all timed, so they've got these different color links on here that your book will show you where they go and how they line up. You need to make sure they're lined up, or else you're going to cause all kinds of problems. Things never going to work right. And this is the long timing chain, goes up to the cylinder head. And there's your mark. So follow the book, and it's pretty straightforward, fairly easy to do. You could do it in a weekend if you take your time and you're kind of slow about it, which is okay. You could do it in a weekend. Okay, I've got the valve cover off, timing chain lined up. These were all off, so I'm resetting them, and I replaced the tensioner. That is the exhaust side, so you can see how the marks are lined up. The chain here with the mark right there on the actuator, and then same on this side with the chain lined up with the actuator, which is the white dot. And underneath, got the crank. 5 o'clock position with the crank sprocket lined up with the mark on the chain. Good to go. Timing chain tensioner. They had 3 different types. First one on your left, the middle one's the second one, and then the third one, which is the right one. And it says, this just says everything I just said. And then do not install activated, which is basically this plunger or piston here in the extended position. This is the retracted or deactivated. That actually extends out once it's in the block and doing its job. This is the timing chain tensioner I pulled out of the engine. Notice it's kind of rusty. At least it's got some surface rust on it. The one that I bought and put in there was all the same finish as the shaft here. So for this to get that rusty in just a couple months here in Texas, I don't think that happened. I think when I sent this engine back to be rebuilt again because the first time I got it didn't have any oil pressure. See my previous videos. I think they put in another tensioner. Now I've got one of two issues with this. I've changed the what are they called? The actuator solenoids, which are over here, P0016 and P0017 is the code I got, and I'm thinking it was those two. I changed those, as well as the camshaft correlation, or I'm sorry, the camshaft sensor, position sensor, which is on the back, or say the right side of the engine. The side that was easy enough to get to. And the only other thing it might be is the camshaft position sensors, which are the two back here, or worst case scenario is the timing chain is stretched. It's a new chain, all new guides. This should have been new too, but it doesn't look new. So I'm hoping either this was the problem and not the timing change. The timing change is a problem. I got to do all this over again and change that chain, which not a big deal, but it's a big deal when it's your weekend. So anyway, more to come. After you get this cover on, you get the pulley on, get the crank bolt tight, get your belt on, your tensioner, which is up here. It's really dark. Your tensioner bolt for your pulley is straight through there. There you go. Give this a start turning it here with the breaker bar. You see that? There you go. Just turn it with the breaker bar. You'll hear the tensioner click up there, which means it's activated. Okay, I've already started the car and it runs fine. If it hadn't, that'd be really embarrassing. So it ran good, except I had a check engine light, of course, and these are my codes. So I'm going to go ahead and clear the codes, and if you remember in the last video, the check engine light came back like fairly quickly. It'd stay off for a while, but then it'd come right back on. So here it goes. I'm going to clear codes. Okay, there you go. 0 codes. Okay, check engine light's still on. Gonna turn it off. Turn it back on again. She starts, she runs. I got a traction control light now. That's not a good thing. There, take off the emergency brake, traction control light goes off. That sounds nice. I don't know if you guys can hear that or not, but it sounds good. Alright, I'm going to take it for a ride. Oh, wait a minute. Last time I did this, I could just shut it off, turn it right back on, and the codes would come right back. But I will say I'm not expecting that, because when I took the valve cover off and looked at the timing gears, when I got the marks up to the gears, they were off. They were both off. So they're on now. So I really doubt I'm going to get another check engine light. So let's take it for a ride, see what happens. Alright, good news. I've already gone farther than I had before without code coming on. Check engine light. It's good. I'm calling it good. So we'll see how long it lasts. Right now it's at 216,482 miles on the Iron Man HHR. Let's see how far we can get her up there.